Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TraderMerlin Show for your Friday edition, September 19th. It is the trading week wrap-up, which means it's whiskey day. I've been thinking of curtailing the whiskey days just because in my kick to become as healthy as possible and lose weight and get in shape, alcohol is certainly one of the bad villains in the scenario. But you know what? Everything in moderation, or as the Grateful Dead used to say, too much of everything is just enough. So cheers, everybody. I'm drinking, what do we got today? Eagle Rare, thanks to my friend Jason. I had a tacky party recently, and he brought over a bottle of Eagle Rare, which is by no means tacky. So happy Friday, everybody. Hope you had a great week. Yeah. Ooh, that's nice. Good. Been a great week. I actually picked the graphic today from, well, this is AI. So we created this AI graphic here just with jubilation. You know, there might be some weird hand gestures in here because it is AI, but what a week. It seems like every day was just trucking higher and higher and higher and higher. Most of the markets, including the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Dow, closing at all-time highs. And Chris, good to see you, my friend. I can't believe you got Scott's Jeep. He finally took that thing off his property. I've been trying to get him to sell that thing forever. Of course, he probably just took that money and blew it on something he shouldn't have bought. But, oh well, teach his own. The Jeep looks good, my friend. So let's dive into these markets and kind of do a little recap. S&P 500 was my preferred one for the day. Well, not really preferred, but just watching what it's done. We talked about that hammer formation we had on Wednesday and following through with the structure that I talk about, which is breaking the highs of that candle. It's been a nice two-day run here. Now, I did not make any new trades. I just sold some puts on Wednesday, as you guys know. We'll talk about those trades here in a little bit, but this train keeps on rolling. I mean, from the low point we had here on September 2nd to where we are today, you have a 5.45% gain in the S&P 500. And remember, September is that month that everybody tells you it's bad. It's going to be a down month. Sell. You know, always an underperformer. As they say, everything works until it doesn't. And in this case, man, S&P has been phenomenal for the month of September. It might be one of the best months of the year. And we're not done yet. Not done yet, but certainly a phenomenal run that we've had for the S&P. NASDAQ with a very similar picture. And in my opinion, looks even better. If you look through here, I'm colorblind, so it makes it tough. We've had literally, since the beginning of September, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down days. 5 down days out of 13. I'll take those odds any day. By the way, both those are Fibonacci numbers, 5 and 13. No coincidence? I don't know. But just a phenomenal run. NASDAQ up 7.95% from those lows on September 2nd, so outperforming the S&P. Really good. And one that, you know, I never talk about because I just don't care about the Dow. I just don't think it's really a broad representation of a market, is up 3.04%. So underperforming the S&P and the NASDAQ. But we have one more. Let's go take a peek at the Russell 2000, which is your only real major thing that was down today from an index perspective. We could talk about Bitcoin being down, but the Russell was down 0.7% today. But that's coming off the heels of a giant day yesterday. Absolutely fantastic day yesterday. So let's go back and do that same comparison from the lows on September 2nd to where we are right now. And the Russell, surprisingly, still up 6.19%. Unbelievable. Yeah, Liz says 7 closing up weeks on the Russell. I'll put up to weekly so we can all see that. It has been nothing short of spectacular. Yeah, 7 up weeks, really just incredible run. If you go all the way to those lows we had on July 28th, Russell's up over 15% in that window of time. Not too shabby. Now, as we continue on today, I'm going to be bouncing around here quite a bit, and I did have a question about September, or about the crypto treasuries. So I want to revisit this one because I actually created a tracking folder now for crypto treasuries. I've talked about this one quite a bit, and I think it's an interesting phenomenon that could add a lot more upside pressure to the price of cryptocurrencies, and particularly the ones that are in those treasuries. We know that there's Ethereum ones. We know that there's Bitcoin with MicroStrategy. We know that there is one for WorldCoin, which will probably fail miserably. And now I've been talking about how we should have one for like Solana, because Solana just makes sense. You can stake Solana and you can get a much higher rate of return than you could on Ethereum. And lo and behold, that happened as well. So let me bring up my new watch list folder here down the very bottom of my list. Treasuries. I should write crypto treasuries. And I think you're going to see a lot more of these. There's a couple more in the pipeline right now that aren't quite public yet. They may become public here soon, but the one I wanted to outline was this guy here, BREA. So let's go on to a daily time frame here. This is by no means an endorsement or encouragement to trade these bad boys. Just understand what they do, how they're structured. And most of them are garbage companies, like literally garbage companies. Most of them were failing businesses doing something else. I think Ed up in San Jose sent me a little write-up on this one on Barrera Holdings. He says, formerly a provider of football and volleyball school services. Okay, well, that's not an exciting business. So all of a sudden, somebody identifies this underperforming cheap penny stock, if you will, and then says, hey, listen, we'll take that over, we'll recreate the business, and we're now going to do a Solana Treasury. And look what's happened to BREA, the ticker symbol, just in that short window of time. If you go back to September 8th, 9th, this is a $6 stock. Within a couple of, actually literally within 2 days, it rallied all the way up to, let me get that my scale here, 52 bucks, call it 53. So huge move to the upside there in Brea in just a few days. And the main reason is they got funding to buy a whole bunch of Solana. And what will happen here is once they accumulate their Solana, they will start to stake that and earn yield on their Solana, which could be roughly 7-8%, depending on what Solana is yielding. One thing to keep in mind with these treasuries, though, for those of you who understand crypto, most cryptocurrencies will start at a much higher staking rate. So, Polkadot's a good example. I think at one point Polkadot was like 19%, and every so often they reduce the rewards. So while you might get excited and look at something like Brea and say, okay, they can now take their Solana, stake it, and earn 7%, therefore the benchline rate of return here should be 7%. The reality is that Solana, I believe, is targeting 1.5%. So every year they cut a little bit of that reward to ultimately, down the road, let's say 5, 6, 7 years, I don't know the timeline, that they will look to have a target rate for stakers about 1.5%. So that profit margin, that cushion that Brea will enjoy for a while, is going to start to decline and get less and less and less. But you look at a lot of these. You have Orbs. So Orbs is 8Co. This is the one that does WorldCoin. Obviously, monstrous move. It went from $1.41 all the way up to a high price of $83.12 in just a couple of days, in one day, right? But now reality is setting in, and it's tanking and looking pretty weak. So, all right, fine. You have BMNR, which is one that I'm interested in. This is an Ethereum one. Really having a phenomenal run over the past couple of weeks. Really, it was down at 41 bucks, and here we are at 61 today. So this thing's rallied 50% in just the last 2 weeks alone. And I think that speaks volumes to the crypto interest and just these crypto treasuries. Now, SBET is another one. This is SharpLink Gaming. They are an Ethereum treasury, just not performing as well. And remember, it's about the team. So BMNR has Tom Lee at the helm. Tom Lee, obviously one of the big names in the investment world, a huge pro-crypto guy. He's the guy that's really backing that one. If you look at SBET, this is a guy named Joe Lubin, who was one of the creators of Ethereum, and other big money coming in to back him as well. But he just doesn't have the notoriety, I don't believe, as Tom Lee does. So Tom Lee will probably get the money, get more money inflows. You also have ETHM. Okay, ETHM, I'm trying to remember all of them. There's so many different ones. I can't remember what ETHM is. Obviously an Ethereum treasury. They're a newer one. Of the BTBT is a Ethereum one as well. Obviously, you have MicroStrategy. And here's the one that I'm interested in. It's called CEP right now, but it's Cantor Equity Partners. This is a SPAC. You can see back here. You can tell by the price is stuck at 10. That shot all the way up to 60 bucks or whatever, and now is drifting lower. From the research I've done, I believe that this one is going to be. It's called 21 Capital or 21 Coins. So Jack Mahler, who is he's an orange pill guy. Orange pill meaning all in on Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin or nothing. He has billions of dollars that have been sent to him from Tether to help start his business. And he's basically trying to do what MicroStrategy does. But instead of just holding it like MicroStrategy, he's looking to build out infrastructure and help build adoption for Bitcoin, which will boost his crypto. And one thing that's different about 21 Coins is they actually publish their wallet address. Remember, my huge complaint, monstrous complaint, the biggest complaint I have in all of crypto is that Michael Saylor can say that MicroStrategy has 600-something thousand Bitcoin, yet can't point you to one of them, not one. Whereas, if it was a public address, he could say, that's my address. We could all witness it. I'd have a lot more faith, a lot more trust. 21 coins is doing that. And that may actually cause me to move my money over to 21 coins down the road. So let's see. What do we got here? Having some M&H elements. Pete. I don't like Pete. So Marcus says, I still don't understand what a treasury does. Okay. Many people feel it's a Ponzi scheme, right? So what they do is they raise money, and let's say it's $100 million of capital. That capital comes at a cost, right? You don't just raise $100 million interest free. You're paying someone something. So let's say they go out to, I don't know, Cantor Fitzgerald, a giant financial firm, and say, hey, listen, we want to raise $100 million for our crypto treasury. Let's call it an Ethereum treasury. What Cantor will say is, okay, we'll loan you this $100 million, but we want X amount of rate of return or convertible shares. They'll negotiate some terms. And let's just say it's just an equity play where they give them $100 million at 8%. So now my firm has $100 million to work with at 8%. If it's Solana, I'm going to go out there and buy $100 million, very carefully, by the way, because I don't want to jack the price up, of Solana. So now all that's happened in my company, let's call it Merlin's treasury. In Merlin's treasury, I've got $100 million. I've now gone out and I've bought $100 million worth of Solana. So on my books, I don't have cash. I've got $100 million worth of Solana tokens or coins. In purchasing that $100 million, most likely I'm going to have driven the price up a little bit. So now that $100 million might actually be worth, at face value, maybe $110, maybe $120 million. So I've already made a 10 or 20% rate of return by buying the instrument that I hold. I'm buying it, I'm driving the price of that security up. Then what they will do is they will now take that cryptocurrency, or Merlin's treasury will take that Solana, and I'm now going to stake it, which means I'm going to remove it from supply. This is the huge difference that nobody is talking about. And literally not one person in the entire world of crypto is mentioning this, and I don't understand why. This is so massive. With Bitcoin and MicroStrategy, the Bitcoin is sitting on the exchanges. It's still in the market. It's not removed. But when you stake a cryptocurrency, you're locking it in a vault that nobody can touch. It's locked into that crypto program. For example, if Merlin's treasury has $100 million worth of Solana, and I stake that, when I stake that Solana, it's now locked into the protocol. It's no longer part of the circulating supply that people can buy and sell. So I'm removing supply from the equation. And if demand for Solana stays exactly the same, and I'm removing supply from the market, price is going to go up. Simple math. If I can do things to increase demand for Solana, and I'm removing supply from the market, price goes up even faster. When I raise more capital and buy more Solana, I'm increasing demand and I'm continually removing supply. So I'm taking more supply out every single time I raise capital and stake it. And because I'm holding this asset, Solana, that's been going up in value, right? Because I keep buying more and more and removing supply, it's going up in value. My balance sheet looks better. It looks like I have all of this profit and huge amounts of gains. So I can raise more money, rinse, wash, and repeat. So that's what they do, Margaret. They're basically buying crypto and raising money to buy more crypto. Is there anything like FDI insurance on crypto holdings at these exchanges? No, not at all. No FDIC. Now, because they are publicly traded, you do automatically get SIPC protection, right? So that would be your securities protection. Now, I don't know all the details on what it might cover, right? If it ends up being a scam and falling apart or something, does SIPC protect you from that? Or is it just fraudulent activities? I don't know the exact guidelines of SIPC insurance, but not FDIC. FDIC is just for cash. SIPC is going to be for securities. So the good news is these treasuries I've just mentioned, I got the whole list over here on the right-hand side, like MicroStrategy, et cetera. They are covered under SIPC protection, meaning that there should theoretically be some protection for you if they were to fall apart. For now, I'm looking at these things as a blessing, right? It's like, wow, they are creating demand, more and more demand. You look at Michael Saylor, he's bought billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. If Michael Saylor had not been buying that much Bitcoin, I don't think we'd be over $100,000 today. I don't even think we'd be over 80. So he's created this backstop for Bitcoin. And look, I think most people are looking at the crypto treasury space and going, MicroStrategy's got Bitcoin. We're not going to mess with that. But now you're seeing a proliferation of other ones. And I think that as time progresses, right now we've got Bitcoin, we have Solana, we have Ethereum, and we have WorldCoin. I think you're going to start to see a lot more in that space. And as soon as these companies start doing treasuries for the broader cryptos, like let's say Chainlink, let's say Algorand or Polkadot, which offers over 14% interest right now for staking, that's going to drive the price of crypto up. So people keep asking, is this 4-year cycle going to really happen in November? I got to go out on a limb here, and I think this time is different. I think this time is different because you just have too many driving forces. Everything on the political front is positive. Everything on the political front says, make favorable rules. Make crypto great in America so we can all make money off it. Pretty sure that's the Trump mandate. So I just don't see it falling apart. The only thing that I think could happen, as I mentioned, is a black swan event. And of course, we don't know what that black swan event might be. I do think it could circle back to something like Michael Saylor and these exchanges, looking at an exchange like Coinbase or Fidelity, who does not have all of the Bitcoin or crypto that they say they have for their clients, right? If you do fractional reserve lending, you're lending out more than you have, but you're pretty confident you're not going to have a run on those markets. So I think that could be the black swan, but right now I just don't see the markets crashing. So I have not moved my crypto off of my cold storage wallet. I'm inclined to keep it. I've got a number in my head. So orange man bad? Which orange man? It's Trump or Saylor, right? I don't think he's a bad man. I think what he's doing is actually very, very, very smart. I think I give him props. The only thing I think he's doing wrong, and I mean ridiculously wrong, is by not keeping his wallet address public. I mean, literally, you should go to MicroStrategy's website and write. I mean, let me go to it's now called Strategy, right? CRO MicroStrategy. I think it's just called Strategy. Here we go. Strategy software. You should go to Strategy right now, and right here at the top should be the address for their wallet, and everybody should be able to click on that and go click it, and it takes them to a page. You can see every single thing they bought and when they bought. That is the only mistake I think Michael Saylor has made, and that's a big one in my opinion. If he were to disclose his wallet address and prove to everybody that he controls the private keys and he has everything he says, I think we would be so much higher than we are today. I think the market's a little skeptical on what's really going on behind the scenes. All right, I got a whole bunch here. I've triggered some conversations. That ETH will kill Bitcoin. Why is that? ETH will be the Bitcoin killer. Remember, they're two very different things, right? You're dealing with completely different vehicles. One is that store of value that's proof of work and uses high energy. It's all about money and monetary transfer. That's Bitcoin, period. Ethereum is about building financial services, financial products, technological innovation, all being done on Ethereum. So if you look at the scope of what's possible with Bitcoin versus what's possible with Ethereum, Ethereum is a juggernaut. And I do think, I agree with Margaret, I think that the value of Ethereum will flip the value of Bitcoin in a few years as we get more adoption. I mean, as soon as the NYSE and NASDAQ come to terms and say, we're going to create our own layer 2, that layer 2 will be built on Ethereum. The more that happens, the more dependency there is on Ethereum, the value is going to continue to soar. And so, I mean, Ethereum could theoretically be the entire backbone for the entire financial system of the world. I know it sounds crazy, but it's possible. Remember, it's a decentralized financial network. And as long as it stays decentralized, no one in the world has to worry about corruption. No one in the world has to worry about scams and hacks and things like that. As long as it stays very decentralized, and as it becomes more popular, more people will become validators of Ethereum to earn that yield, right? Tom Lee and BMNR, they're probably going to become their own validator and stake it themselves. Therefore, they control everything, and they'll be earning a ton of yield on it. So, yeah, I do think, I wouldn't call it a killer, right? Don't call it a killer because it's not going to ruin Bitcoin. I think we want to make sure we get our terms right here. Will it leap in valuation? I think it could eclipse Bitcoin's valuation because of its utility and just what it can do. But it's not going to kill it. Bitcoin will not die. Bitcoin, I think, is this legacy crypto that will be around forever. So they're definitely different spaces. All right. Because everyone thinks that Bitcoin will be the biggest and best cryptocurrency. Too many smart people out there, so it looks like ETH is much more useful to the average Joe than Bitcoin. Correct. Yep. Absolutely. I agree. Let me see. I'm behind. Merlin, why wouldn't the investment group, SCIP, Merlin Treasury, so I don't really know what you mean by SCIP, they can do the same thing and not have to pay the VIG? I don't get your question there, Steve. Sorry. Repeat it. Right now, Jim, I'm no longer selling in November. I wanted to move my crypto onto the exchanges just so I could set trailing stops on it in case it starts to fall. I'm not saying I'm not going to do that yet, but right now it feels like I'm just going to keep mine on my cold storage, keep it on my ledger for a while. Thanks, Oliver. No doom today. I'm just curious how many people actually send crypto in here aside from holding for investment purposes. It's a great question. I do use it, but sparingly. I've made purchases with cryptocurrency. I use a VPN called Mulvad, MULVAD, and they only take, it's kind of interesting, they only take Monero as payment. And I had a bunch of Monero, so I was using Monero to make payments there. I bought dinner with Bitcoin, but for the most part, yeah, I'm not really using it on a spending capacity. When does the 4-year cycle end? The 4-year cycle ends in November. So some point in November, usually around the first week of November, that's when the 4-year cycle ends and the new one begins. And what that means is the very beginning of the 4-year cycle, which should start, the new one starts in November. Historically, it's fallen 70 to 85% over the next 12 months. So based off of that, I guess you guys don't need to look at me as I have a sip of whiskey over here. Based off of that, let me go up here to Bitcoin's price chart. This one's getting a little bit messy here. Let me show you there. There's a vertical line. It's in January. So the big blue vertical line is, in theory, when the 4-year cycle should end and the new one begin. And what that means, between these two blue goalposts, I'll put another one on here, it basically is forecasting that by 2026, when we get to November of 2026, Bitcoin should fall roughly 70 to 85%. It's crazy. That's a significant drop. And let's assume that right now we end November right there and the 4-year cycle ends at where we're at today. Well, if you're talking about a 70% slide in Bitcoin, you're talking Bitcoin back at $30,000. And it could be. You just never know. This thing is so bizarre and so volatile. I don't think it'll get to 30. As I mentioned here on this graphic, I think I wrote something here that said it'll never get back to this level again. I don't know why it's gone. Maybe it's on the spot price. I wrote it on the screen that I don't think it'll ever get back to this price. Where is it? Oh, it's way back here. We will never hit this level again. We actually hit it a couple weeks later, and that was $76,000. That was on March 14th of this year, and here we are, $50,000 higher per Bitcoin. Pretty crazy. Let's see. This cycle is an interesting topic. It is, especially, for me, it's very interesting because I have, I'll say a significant amount of money in crypto, and I've been enjoying it, and it's not to gloat. I feel that the technology is going to change the world, and I did not make that sort of play back in the late 90s with the internet, and I knew the internet was going to change the world. I just didn't think that way, right? I didn't think of, hey, let's invest for the next 10, 15, 20 years. When I first got into the crypto thing, I'm like, hey, this could change the entire financial system, the way that businesses are structured and how we connect and data transfers and money transfers. That's bigger than the internet, in my opinion. Internet's information, but now if you can monetize and change the entire financial infrastructure of the internet and anything connected to it, that's crypto. That's Web 3.0. To me, there's a lot more opportunity there. So that's why I've been building a position since 2017. And I haven't relinquished any of it. I've been just continually building and building and building. And I think I'll probably be good for another 5-10 years of growth. So there you go. Do I have an AI portfolio? I don't have an AI portfolio. No. No, I don't have an AI portfolio. I feel like I've, not that I've missed that boat, but I'm more focused on the crypto thing. I do love AI, and every now and again, I'll do some AI plays, but no long-term stuff. Let's see. Is it possible that so many institutions and retailer traders got involved with Bitcoin that may not follow the 4-year cycle this time? I think that's exactly right, Lisa. I think what we're witnessing today is and I've mentioned this to you guys before. If you look at, let's go look at a company that went public here, CoreWeave, right? So let's real briefly talk about how this company came to be, right? So CoreWeave is a company that was utilizing NVIDIA's chipsets. You're buying a bunch of NVIDIA products and using NVIDIA. And as I mentioned, the sales rep for NVIDIA most likely went back to Jensen Huang and said, hey, CoreWeave, they're doing some really cool things. We should buy into them. Not buy the whole thing, but invest in them. So NVIDIA invested in CoreWeave. Of course, CoreWeave made a bunch of waves due to their AI and the AI craze. So they go and they get themselves an underwriter to go public. And let's say they agree that their valuation is $18 a share when they go public. Okay, the underwriter, in this case, I'm making it up. I don't know who the underwriter was, but let's say it was Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is going to go out there, and they are going to do everything in their power to convince the entire world that CoreWeave is the greatest company on the planet. And remember, they have connections everywhere. CNBC, Fox, Bloomberg, you name the financial channels, whether it's media, internet, YouTube, whether it's print media, they've got connections everywhere. So they're utilizing these tentacles to promote greed and get everyone to think how amazing CoreWeave is. So CoreWeave is now owned by Goldman Sachs. They got all the shares. And of course, some of the owners of CoreWeave still have their shares, but Goldman Sachs now has a lion's share of it. It's now corporate. So once it goes public, the retail investor now gets involved. And that's the way this has worked since the dawn of financial markets. Institutions bring companies public and dump those shares on retail investors. If we go back and look at the price of Bitcoin, Bitcoin was never institutional involvement. Never. Right? You go back to these price charts here. I got to put this on a weekly time frame for you so we can kind of zoom out and see it all. If we go back here into 2012, which is actually, this is 11, there were no institutions here. Goldman Sachs didn't have a clue what Bitcoin was, neither did JP Morgan. Now, as you get into 2017, you're starting to hear a lot more about it, right? People are like, oh, Bitcoin, and it has a big surge. This is still retail people. I don't think that institutions got involved until like 2019, 2020, and we can see what's happened because of that, right? You have now big money pushing in. So I think this whole model of how a company goes public and grows is backwards with crypto. It's backwards in the sense of it was started with retail people. And now let's be fair, the new ones today, the new ones being created today, like Sui or Aptos, which are some of the newer ones, those are institutionally driven, right? Those are driven, built and designed by big institutions, and now they have the control and they sell it to the retail. But Bitcoin, complete opposite. Same with Ethereum, right? No institution was involved with Ethereum in the early days, not one. And now all of a sudden they're jumping in. So anyone buy and hold Bitcoin before 2017? One, I had to buy it on a bulletin board. I still have it. It's in a paper wallet today, sitting in a very safe spot. But that I didn't even know really what I was doing. It was very cheap at the time. $240. So again, that's why I think this is so different, and I think that this 4-year cycle will be different. Unless we get a black swan, I don't see anything that can derail what's going on. We're gonna have price volatility, we're gonna have price fluctuations, but bottom line is I think we're gonna see things continue to shoot to the upside. All right, let's see. I knew the internet would change the world, but I didn't have the money then. Yeah, I had it, but I was just too focused on day trading. I just really didn't. I didn't do it. I'm bummed, but. Said Oklo went nuts today, huh? I didn't even look at Oklo, but yeah, what a phenomenal looking. This thing's just crazy. And I'm bummed because when we talked about this thing, it was like $30, $40. And now you're at $135. Jeez, I hope some of you guys got it. It was up 28% today. Man, phenomenal. 50x on that Bitcoin purchase. Yep, absolutely. I mean, when we did that show called Going Nuclear, I mean, that really, I think, outlined the future of it, where you're just, which companies you get into, and most of them are doing pretty well. Most of them are doing pretty darn well. You can still buy UUU at 14. All right. There's your Energy Fuels, uranium, looking pretty good. It's nuts to think that just earlier this year, this thing was a $3 stock, and now it's 15, right? Pretty crazy. So that was my little bit on crypto treasuries. I think it's very interesting. I think that this is one of the fuels that's going to drive this market higher and higher and higher. If we think about black swans, maybe, just maybe, it might come from crypto treasuries and how they're run. You know, do you get a grifter? Do you get someone who's a bad actor who disappears with it? I just don't know. I don't think so, but anything is possible, right? Anything is possible. You just never know. Let's see, do I have anything else? Yeah, let's check out this one. The euphoria we talked about, that everything is at all-time highs. Still phenomenal. Actually, wait, before I get to that, Chio asked a question. Do you think Bitcoin will go to 200,000 this cycle? I mean, let's just look at probability, right? We're currently sitting at 115,000. And if I'm going to do that based off the 4-year cycle, that means I have until this gold vertical line on my screen here. That's got to get for it to get to 200,000. I mean, I wish, but it doesn't feel, every day that goes by and doesn't have like a surge up, I don't think so. I mean, that means that in the next 43 days, this thing have to rally 73%. Not impossible, right? Not impossible, Chio, but seemingly highly unlikely at this point. Yeah, it seems like it's not going to happen, but I'm not saying it's not. It just feels like at this point, I got to say no. Now, remember, this goalpost here for that November, that could slide anywhere in here in November. Here's the middle of November. Okay, that changes things, give me a little bit more time. But even that's 57 days. I just don't think it's going to rally 75%. Now, do I think we could be at 130 or 140? Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely think we could be 130, 140. To get to those types of numbers, let's say from current level to get to 140, you're looking at a 22% gain. I think that's definitely doable. Joe says, I think 150 by the year end. Could be. Big M says, screw 200,000, when 1 million. Well, you know, that's going to be part of my presentation for out in Orlando, you know, and that's no longer looking at this on a daily chart, right? I've got to take a step back and look at this on a weekly time frame. Let me just zoom out here and go logarithmic just to kind of see where that might line up. If you're going to look at the trend here of Bitcoin going all the way back to its inception days, you know, if you look at that, let's throw on a simple moving average there, and I'll increase this to, let's say, a 200 period moving average. Oh, we're on the 37. Let's try 50 first. Okay, so there's your 50 period moving average. Looking at that, all right, I'm just going to draw a line that looks like if it were to follow this current trend, I think you guys would agree. Does that slope seem okay to you? Does that slope seem irrational? Don't forget about the price axis. Do not look at the price axis, guys. But if you look at the historical price, do you think that angle I have of red dotted lines is appropriate? The angle of those. You think that would be far-fetched, or does that seems logical, right? It's what it's done. And so if you're looking for 1 million Bitcoin, then that would be 2028. That's not that far off. That's 3 years, guys. That's 3 years. 2028. Obviously, I'd love it if it got to the 7 billion mark here, or 7 million mark, but if it got to 1 million, I'll tell you what. If Bitcoin gets to $1 million, I'm probably selling everything. I'm done. At that point, I apologize, everybody, but for me, that's FU money. It's not quite Elon Musk status, but that's enough money where I don't have to do a damn thing for the rest of my life. You know, just relax and enjoy. I mean, I could do it today, but I like to keep busy and I don't want to think about money. If Bitcoin got to $1 million per Bitcoin, and remember, I have a lot of other crypto holdings. It's not just Bitcoin. I think I'd be, yeah. I wouldn't be buying yachts. That's not my style. But I certainly would be doing everything that I've always wanted to do, which maybe I need to start making my list because 2028 is not that far away. I can wait 3 years to get to $1 million. But anyway. SRL, the transparency of crypto allows us to know exactly what's happening in the space of crypto. So does it mean that when large institutions buy or sell, we know exactly when we can take advantage? I'll be honest, I don't think so. As you probably have heard, Margaret, probably smaller houses. I probably buy a couple of different houses in places where I'd like to have property. This house is way too big for me. I hate having a big house. Too much to clean. And now that I'm not going to have a wife and kids, you know, there's no reason for me to have a big house. I wouldn't go off the grid. Not my interest. I like being in a big city. I would have a country place, but I like being in a city. I like activity, social things going on. I definitely am a needing stuff around me. Yeah, definitely. You know, another one we could look at here would be something like Ethereum. So ETH obviously has a very different looking chart, and this is logarithmic, by the way. So ETH is a way different animal. You know, could Ethereum hit 10,000? No problem. No problem. ETH could hit 20,000, especially the way this is going. The trend doesn't look as good here with Ethereum, and yeah, I think by the end of this year, if things continue with the adoption of Treasuries and Ethereum being the base layer for a lot of layer 2 projects, I think that you could see 6,000 by the end of the year, which may not seem like that much. I mean, we're currently at, let's say, $4,500. Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking another 30% gain. I think that's totally possible by the end of the year. Yep, I agree, Big Eb. 6,000 by year end. The age limit only applies to women. I don't know. It applies to me too, because the older I get, you know, the older I get, the less likely I'm going to find a woman who wants to have a child. That's, you know, looking in the late 30s, and a girl looks at me and at my age, usually I'm not getting a second glance, but maybe it's just my self-defeatist attitude. All right, back to the all-time high discussion, because I think that's rather interesting. At this point, we continue to keep breaking highs. Let me change. I need to change my chart off of logarithmic, because I do prefer regular charts. I know some of you want logarithmic, but I'm going back to regular standard daily charts. You look at what's going on with our markets. This has been nothing short of phenomenal, and I've got way too many lines on the screen. Let me get rid of a lot of this garbage. We can all look at that later on. Right now, Oliver, I want to make sure Oliver was here when I made my negative comments, but you know, we talked about the strength of the market during this little consolidation where it didn't feel like it was really ripping higher. It was making what it felt like an ascending triangle or a pennant formation, and really for the past 3 weeks, gasoline has been poured on this one. Gasoline's been poured onto this market, and it continues to just accelerate. So I love it. I'm long. Right now, I just have MicroStrategy long. As you guys know, I have other put options, so let me go and show you those. Here's the options today that expired for myself. I know, Starfish. It is. It's funny. I'm self-defeating. It really is. That's the issue. I went out last night to a singles thing and and it was like, it was so bizarre. You guys know way too much about my personal life, but you know what? You're like my therapy session. So I went to the singles thing last night, and there was this very pretty woman, and I started talking to her, and the common interests were phenomenal. Into the same style of music as me, same interest in so many different things. I didn't get her age, but I'm guessing from appearance, she was probably 44, 45. She had 2 kids already. And the conversation was great. You guys know when you're in a conversation with somebody, like, man, this is really going great. This is like, I was like, in my mind, I'm being calm and collected, like, right on, this could be a contender here, you know? So we talked for about 20 minutes, and then we got pulled apart to go to different tables for this event. And I said, hey, I've had a great conversation with you. Let's exchange numbers, and I'll take you out to dinner sometime. She goes, yeah, maybe later. And, you know, rejection's rejection, but it was just so bizarre when you have such good rapport, such good connection, and it really felt like, she's laughing or having a good time. So bizarre. Ladies, you can kill a man's emotions. You can just stomp on him like that with a comment. It was brutal. I turned to my buddy, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. That felt about as good as you could possibly have a conversation. I know, John, it happens all the time. Yeah, it was fine. She says later, I'm like, whatever. I'm not even gonna talk to you. It was pretty funny. It was entertaining, but yeah, you just never know. You never know. Anyway, back off my personal life. Let's go to this one. I know, Oliver. Defeatist. I'm good. We'll do better. I'm looking forward to when I'm going to show you a picture and go, guys, this is my new lovely girlfriend. Or my wife at that point. I can't invite y'all to the wedding, though. Can't. Maybe you can be virtual. Anyway, here is the option trades that happened for this week. I didn't do a lot. Some of these were fairly large positions, but I didn't do a lot of different ones. I only had 4 positions open. As you guys know, I had the covered calls on my MicroStrategy, which actually hit 357.50 yesterday. That was pretty nice. I was like, oh, okay, I might have to buy those back because I don't want to get out of my MicroStrategy. Here's the chart of it. But those MicroStrategy calls expired worthless. That was great. That brought in an extra $600 for 3 days was phenomenal. I'll take it for I'll take $600 for pretty much nothing. I had the NVIDIA 166 puts, which NVIDIA did me a favor and had a bounce. Although, I'll be honest, I wanted NVIDIA at 166. So those were gone. That ended up putting $1,000 in 3 days, so I'm okay with that. The 2 that I still have open, as you can see here, are SMCI. I'm not feeling too worried about SMCI at this point. Remember, I got the $41 strikes that expire next week. I didn't get a lot of premium, so it's basically, I was getting about a little over 1% for a week and a half. Not great, but but still, I have a good quantity of those, so that ended up being a fairly nice one. But you can see right here, we're at 40, call it $46. I'm not worried about getting exercise next week, so that'll be a great one. And then finally, the UNH. I did like the UNH trade. I do want to get back into UNH. I was hoping it would have sold off to the 327.50. That's what my put was. And on this one, I had a large one. So I have 10 of those contracts. So that basically was $3,000 in the account for the week. Fine. You know, that's a little less than 1% rate of return, but it's on a large amount of capital. And for me, that was a good one. And I'm loving the fact that today we were kind of even lower. I was going to sell another 10 today, but I wanted to wait till see what happens on Monday. I probably should have sold them this weekend on Friday because I would have had more premium. But I may have gone back to the 327.50s because the premium was pretty good. But yeah, those the only positions I have open right now in the options are SMCI and United Health. And then I also have, as you guys know, I still have 600 MicroStrategy, which I did not sell call options against my position today. I want to see what happens over the weekend. I have a sneaky suspicion that you're going to see Bitcoin slowly tick up over the weekend. You know, you make the big money being long calls, yeah, or long puts, right? You get much better rates of return, but I'm not looking for the rates of return. You know, I made this point a while back, and maybe I should do a special show on it, because I think when you're younger and you're desperate to make a lot of money, you usually don't have any money, right? So most of you who started off many, many years ago in your teens and 20s, you might have had $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. Well, in order to make a living off that, you got to take big chances. You know, I need to make that 100, 200% rate of return per year to have any sort of chance at living off of it. But once you're older and you have capital and you have bigger accounts, let's say it's in the 6 or 7 figures, you know, if you have a 7-figure account and you get yourself 1% rate of return per week, that's $10,000 a week. And it's not that hard depending on how you do it. If you are more conservative and you want to do what I was talking about, doing that 1% strategy, which is the video I recorded many moons ago, and you go out here and you look at, just look at these S&P sectors. And just, look through here. Let me just real quickly give you an example of what I might be looking at today. It's tough because most of the stuff is just trending higher and higher and higher. Maybe real estate. Maybe you're looking at IYR and you sell some puts on IYR, maybe at the 95, maybe at the 94 mark for the next week. And you might be able to generate 1% per month on those ones. Relatively risk-free. Starvey says, I'm in deep water for MicroStrategy. I'm underwater too on that one. But here's the thing. Not worried. Bitcoin, in my mind, and this is my belief, Bitcoin will continue to rally. Although it's been stalled, I think it'll continue to rally. So at some point, MicroStrategy is going to pick itself back up and slowly start to move back up. So that's why I'm selling those puts. I'm selling calls against my position. Because every time I sell those calls, it lowers my cost basis. So on the recent transaction here, where I sold the 357.50 calls, and I collected $1.04, well, that lowered my cost basis. So yeah, right now I'm hurting. MSTR, we can do the math. Right now MSTR is at 344. My average price is 379. So that means I'm underwater on this one. $35 per share. $35 times 600. Let's just do the math. Times 600. I'm underwater 21 grand on my MicroStrategy right now. But I'm not overly concerned because the other things I'm doing have been crushing it. I've made a couple trades here that have been phenomenal that, have brought in $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 gains. And my account, it's interesting because I'm tracking the account this year. My account continues to trek up even though MicroStrategy is a weight on that portfolio at this moment in time. But all the other stuff has been counterbalancing that, and actually the account has been growing even though MicroStrategy is underwater. So that's one of the reasons I like to have some diversification to it, because yeah, I might be in something that is underperforming right now, but I have other things that are overperforming. I mean, that trade I made on NVIDIA, the trade I made on United Health, the one I got before Warren Buffett. I mean, that was one of those like, thank you. Like I'm about to do like a curtain call on that one. That was such luck. But that erased all those losses in MicroStrategy and then some, right, in just a couple of days. Do you sell on calls on Friday for MicroStrategy? Starfish, depends. I don't have a set rule. It's best to sell them on a Friday because you get that 2 extra days of decay. But I feel like I know it's a feeling, but I feel like Bitcoin's going to slowly rally over the weekend, although I didn't like the way it moved today. If Bitcoin does rally over the weekend, then we'll come in, MicroStrategy will gap up to, let's say, 350, 360, and then I can sell maybe 380 or 390 calls, and now I'll be positive on that trade overall. Mick says, my cost base on MicroStrategy is $30. Wow. Nice. Never. That's good. Said I would never sell calls against this position. Sell them so far up that you're getting an extra, 1% per month. I mean, to get 1% per month on MicroStrategy is, you could go so far out of the money on those calls, your chance of getting hit is extremely low, and you're adding an extra 1% rate of return. But that's just me. I like to constantly be just picking up those pennies and quarters and nickels and dimes all the time. All right, how much time we got? Holy shnikes. Got to get ready to go. All right, what questions did I have come in here? Is it too late to get into United Health? I don't think so. Look, I'm trying to buy into United Health. That's why I was selling those puts at 327.50. I initially had calls against my position at 327.50, and they got taken away last Friday. I'm okay with that. I'd like to get back in. You got a couple positive things going for you. Notice the 50-period moving average is now sloping upwards. You've got Warren Buffett bought billions of dollars worth of UNH. Warren Buffett rarely invests heavily in a company that's going to underperform. He's done it. There's definitely been examples Warren Buffett has screwed up, but for the most part, he's doing due diligence, man. He knows his stuff. He's got a team of experts analyzing these things. So, personally, I think United Health, if you depends on your time horizon, Starfish. If your time horizon is next week, no, be careful. But if your time horizon is a year out, I think in a year you're going to look back at 336 and go, oh man, why didn't I buy it? Why didn't I buy it? I mean, look, we've still got a long way to get to all-time highs, but at 336, is it unreasonable to think we're going to close this gap at 379 within the next couple months? I don't think so. I think that's high probability. I mean, this was all driven by really crazy factors. Obviously, the assassination of the CEO and that, and the lawsuits. They'll settle, they'll move on, and I think that you'll see this thing continue higher. So personally, I think it's a good time to be buying in. We'll buy calls for United is better. If you want a higher rate of return, but I haven't looked in to see what the premium is for the calls. I like to sell the puts at levels where I want to own it. Right, so right now I'd be fine owning at 327.50. That's why I sold those puts last week. The premium was okay, right? It gave me a little less than 1% for 3 days. Not bad. Mick says I'm in United. The 280 call. Oh, so you bought the 280 calls expiring? Nice. Damn, Mick, that's a monster one there. I think I could pay your mortgage, bud. That's gonna be a good one. Hope you got a bunch of them. I'm in a 3 to 5 year United Health. Okay, all right, cool. We'll buy call. United was the number one stock investment of our Congress people. So says the internet. Oh wow, I did not know that. Well, that should say a lot, right? If Congress is loading the boat, you know that they're going to put pressure on the government agencies to back off the court cases because they want to make money. So if that is in fact true, John says your intro music is way too short. Let it run for 10 seconds. This show's not about intro music, man. I want to get right to the chase. It's funny, I used to have, when I did Power Trading Radio, we had this really cool graphics team, and they had this amazing introduction. And it was like 15, 18 seconds of coolness. And I was like, if I was the viewer, I'm like waiting 50, I saw this yesterday, I saw it the day before, I'm getting bored with the intro. I'd rather just cut straight to it. So I'm actually about to change the intro music, John. I'm concerned about copyright. For those that know, you know. I have not been hit in 5 years with a copy, knock on wood, but I'm concerned about that. If you know the song that I played at the very beginning, there's concern there, so I may have to change that one out, or I may take that song, which is one of my favorite songs. I love that song. It's such a great track, and modify it enough through like a digital platform so it's not copyright protection. I think you should run it a little longer because I always miss the first bit. Okay, cool. Larry, I wish I could, my friend. I'm a man of constant improvement, and I think we should all be constantly improving ourselves. Let me just tell you, one of the main reasons why I'm very happy I'm no longer in the relationship that I was in is the relationship I was in, that individual did nothing in any way, shape, or form to improve herself. There was no education. There was no thinking. There was no like skill set or hobby improvement. It was reading trashy romance novels and watching reality TV. I'm always trying to improve. Now, for me, it's more about learning technology and things like that. I have right over here, I've got an acoustic guitar, a bass guitar, a clarinet, and an electric guitar. And every now and again, I just sit down and I try to play, and I just can't. I don't know why. I know I've got talent. I know I can do it. And maybe I should focus some more time on that. But as you guys know, in this breakup process, one of the things I'm really, really trying to do is self-improvement. We've got the health thing done, right? I feel great about my health. I'm loving it. I'm really happy and confident about that. Got to finish my book. That's number 2. And then, I wouldn't mind picking up the guitar or bass and actually getting much better at it. But remember, here's my problem. When I play guitar or I play bass or I play my saxophone or I play my clarinet, it's going to take me a long time to get good. And every time I play that, I'm no longer around people, and I'm social. If I'm going to meet someone, I need to be social. Yeah, get a Les Paul, the Marshall Sec. I've got a Fender Squiire and a Fender amp. That's a little rattler. So, absolutely, Oliver. We all have to take care of ourselves first. Let's see. Margaret, no contact anymore with her? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. She asked a week or so ago, like, if our dogs could hang out because our dogs are best friends, and never gonna happen. She's already seeing and sleeping with someone else. So goodbye, good riddance, good luck to you. I hope you get, whatever. Best of luck to you. Travel's the best way to heal and meet new friends. Starfish, I can't. My dog's too old, and I don't want to leave him right now. I'm worried that I'm worried that my dog is going to hit the Rainbow Bridge in the next few months. So we will still see how that goes. You got a bunch of musical friends. Get them in. You know what? Maybe, Mike. That's a good point. Exactly, John. Yep. Oh, yeah. For her, it was easy. She already had this lined up, I'm sure. So it's cool. Look, she wants them. Yeah, I didn't want to go there. Like, who cares? I'm wasting my breath talking about that girl. Good luck to her. I hope that she's happy. This sounds really cocky. I apologize. She's going to look back in 6 months and go, I screwed up. I got rid of an amazing person. And she's probably going to come back and I'm going to be like, you screwed up. Hit the bricks, girl, because I'm doing better. I found someone way better, and that's what will happen. You think I should go into my money suit? I've got to go out of my money suit? No, that looks a little tacky. If you guys saw my closet, maybe what I will do tomorrow is I will show you I will show you a picture of my closet, a piece of my closet. I think that you guys are going to love it. I think you're going to love it. You're going to be like, we knew Merlin was weird, but when you see my closet, you're like, man, this dude, what the hell is he doing? I have some of the craziest suits you'll ever see. Yeah. Did you miss her, Merlin? Forget about her? Bro, Rob, come on, man. Did I miss her? I love this woman deeply, man, with all my soul. It was I was sobbing on this show. Of course, I had, there was a death involved in that as well. But yeah, man, of course I miss her. Of course I miss her. Absolutely. But, you have to create a break. If you know that she broke up with you for whatever reason, I can't go and beg or grovel or plead to bring her back. Nothing's going to change that. She made up her mind, so go away. She'll have to sleep with whatever decision she makes, and literally sleep with him because that's the decision she made, and good luck for her. I agree, Margaret. I told her that all the time. I told her that so many times. I said, reality TV is poisoning your mind. You believe things should be a certain way because you're watching My 90 Day Fiancé. That's BS. That crap ain't real. It's not how love works, but hey, we're good. Vanara says, Merlin, is there a way to your trade setup? I'm not sure I understand that question. There's always a way to trade my setup, but I've developed mine over the years. And if you watch the show long enough, you'll understand what my strategy. I think most people here understand it. And I think the beauty, Vanara, of this group and this program is I'm not selling you on my style. I'm not selling you on how I trade, right? I'm not trying to sell you anything, honestly. But I'm sharing my ideas. I'm sharing my style. And some people here will use components of what I do. Like when I show this stuff over here, and honestly, I've just been doing this recently because I think that you guys find it interesting. Because I do this show for free, I'm not giving out all the details of everything, but this is one account that I have that I do for this show that I think will be helpful in people understanding the basics of income generation. And, for me, looking to make 1% per week, 2%. I mean, some of these are all pretty small. So these are 1% per week, pretty much all of these, which is a little bit less than I normally would strive for. I'm trying to get 1 to 3% per week, but it doesn't always happen. There are going to be other times where I'm doing much better. There'll be other times where I'm taking losses. And in transparency, I show all of that stuff, right? I show all that just because no one's perfect. You're going to lose money along the way, but my style is mine. And the viewers here will tell you, Vanara, that a lot of them don't do the same thing I do. It's just brain food. It's just thought process and understanding that we all have our cycles, we all have our routines, we all have our processes, what makes us work. So hopefully that helps. Starfish, what time is it? I got to run. What time we go? Oh, yeah. Sorry, Starfish. Let's answer that on Monday because I got to run here. I'm not doing an hour show today. What happened out there? Is it cash secured puts and covered calls for the most profits? Is that what it's all about? Just keep getting some every time? For me, Rob, it is because my account size is large enough, right? But if you have a $10,000 account and you're making 1% per month, you're not going to make much. Once you get big enough, it's much better. Reality is getting close for me and my dad. Oh, I'm sorry, Oliver. It's got to be tough, man. I'd give you a big hug if I could as well. Sorry to hear about that. That's always tough. Not that it's any consolation, Oliver, or any help, but when my mom passed away, it was this dark cloud. And I hope that you have siblings and family and friends around you to support you. I'm an only child. And when my mom passed away, the weight of the world was on me. I probated her estate myself. I did everything myself. And it was almost to the point of unbearability. But, what helped was, you're older, Oliver. So your dad he lived a full life. My mom died when she was in her early 40s. So, the thing is, it hurts when you lose a loved one. But the good news is you can nod your head in joy and happiness knowing that he was a part of your life all the way through it. And while you want him to live longer and continue to stay there forever, we all know that's not going to happen. So all you can do is remember the good times, celebrate their life, not their passing, and do for me anyway, I think what changed my life was doing everything that I could do to make my mom proud. You get me all teary-eyed over here today. I did everything I could to make my mom proud. And I think I've done that. I think if she's watching right now, she'd be like, you're doing pretty good. She'd probably give me grief about my relationship and the disclosure I'm letting all you guys know about my personal life. But you guys are like my extended family. So, yeah. Enjoy and have a great funeral. What I did, Oliver, is when I organized a funeral for my mom, I didn't have a funeral. I had a wake. I had a live band. I had kegs. I had photo albums all around the room because my mom would be absolutely livid if people were crying about her. She wanted them to remember the good times and be good about it. So, not that helps you, Oliver, but I hope that it goes well. I know it's been a tough time for you. So, big hug from myself and our audience here. We love you, my friend. So, hopefully that funeral will go smooth and remember the good times. All right. On that note, there's nothing happening on the economic front Monday, nothing happening on the earnings calendar on Monday, which means I'm going to do an abrupt end so I don't do a 1 hour show because I got how many seconds left? Oh, I have 50 seconds left for a 1 hour show. Done. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And Oliver, again, we're all here for you if you need anything. So chin up. Remember the great times. Your dad is probably a great man and did some amazing things for you. So enjoy that and remember that. So thank you guys so much. Monday's the only show for next week. Sorry, it's it. Monday. If you want something specific on Monday, want me to cover something, show a strategy, a tactic, explain something, let me know. Just send them on in at TraderMerlin@gmail.com or put them down below any of the YouTube videos. That said, cheers. My whiskey's gone. I hope you guys have a fantastic remainder of your weekend. Do something fun, spread some love, and I will see you guys on Monday. Take care.